The Young and the Restless spoilers next 2-week update January 6 to January 17, 2025 fractures in the alliance. Jordan and Ian's downfall. Jordan paced nervously in the small, dimly lit house she had chosen as Sharon's new prison. The tension in her chest was suffocating, her paranoia growing with each passing day. Ian Ward, once her trusted ally, had revealed his true nature, a twisted, manipulative man with a penchant for control and cruelty. Jordan had seen the warning signs, the strange glint in his eyes when he spoke of Sharon, the possessive way he referred to their plans. She knew she couldn't trust him anymore. Ian's unpredictable behavior had forced Jordan's hand. She moved Sharon without consulting him, taking her to a remote, abandoned farmhouse deep in the woods. Sharon's fragile state didn't make the move easy, but Jordan believed it was her only chance to keep both herself and her captive safe. "Ian won't find us here," Jordan muttered to herself, glancing nervously at the door. She couldn't shake the feeling that her former ally might already be plotting against her. Nick's nightmare. Nick woke with a start, his heart racing and his face damp with tears. The vivid nightmare had left him shaken to his core. In the dream, Sharon lay lifeless in a coffin, her once vibrant face pale and still. He had knelt beside her, clutching the edge of the casket, his body racked with sobs. "Why couldn't I save you?" his dream self had whispered, the words cutting through him like a knife. Now, sitting upright in bed, Nick wiped the sweat from his brow, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. He swung his legs over the side of the bed and buried his face in his hands. The image of Sharon's lifeless body haunted him, a reminder of the urgency of his mission. "No," he said aloud, his voice firm despite the tremor in it. "I'm not giving up on you, Sharon. I'll find you. I don't care what it takes." Denise's mysterious tip. Meanwhile, Devon was grappling with his own suspicions. Denise, a private investigator he had hired to find Damien, had delivered a crucial piece of information, the exact address where Damien was hiding. Her accuracy had impressed everyone, but Devon couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. "How did you find him so quickly?" Devon asked, his tone laced with skepticism. Denise shrugged, her expression neutral. "It's my job, Devon. I follow leads, and I get results." But Devon wasn't convinced. "Did someone tip you off? Or are you working with Damien?" Denise's eyes narrowed. "Are you accusing me of something?" "Look, you hired me to do a job, and I did it. If you don't trust me, that's your problem." Devon's frown deepened as Denise left the room. He couldn't shake the feeling that she knew more than she was letting on. Was she working with Damien and Amy? Or was there another layer to this conspiracy? Sharon's whereabouts. While Nick, Devon, and the rest of Genoa City searched desperately for answers, Sharon remained trapped in the farmhouse Jordan had chosen as her hiding place. Her body was weak, and the cocktail of medications Jordan forced on her only added to her disorientation. But Sharon's spirit was far from broken. She clung to the hope that Nick would find her, that she would see her children again. Jordan, however, was growing increasingly erratic. The pressure of keeping Sharon hidden while avoiding Ian's wrath was taking its toll. Her paranoia had reached a fever pitch, and she often muttered to herself, pacing the room while Sharon watched silently. "You don't get it, do you?" Jordan snapped one day, her voice rising. "Ian's dangerous. If he finds us, we're both dead." Sharon, her voice hoarse from lack of use, managed a whisper. "Then let me go. You don't have to do this." Jordan laughed bitterly. "And let you go running to Nick?" "No. You're my insurance, Sharon. As long as I have you, I have leverage." The alliance crumbles. Ian, meanwhile, had discovered Sharon's absence and was livid. He knew Jordan had moved her, and the betrayal stung. He had never trusted her completely, but he hadn't expected her to act against him so brazenly. "Jordan thinks she's smarter than me," Ian mused, a twisted grin spreading across his face. "But she's just made her biggest mistake." Determined to find Sharon and regain control of the situation, Ian began tracking Jordan's movements. The cracks in their alliance were now gaping chasms, and their shared goals had devolved into mutual distrust and self-preservation. Nick's unwavering determination, Nick's nightmare, continued to fuel his desperation. With every passing day, his resolve grew stronger. He scoured the town for clues, revisited every lead, and pushed himself to the brink of exhaustion. Sharon's absence was a weight he couldn't bear, and he wouldn't rest until she was back in his arms. But as he searched, he couldn't help but wonder, is Sharon still alive? Or was my nightmare a warning of what's to come? The looming showdown, the fractured alliance between Jordan and Ian, combined with Damien and Amy's schemes, created a powder keg waiting to explode. As Tucker, Nick, and Devon closed in on the truth, and Ian hunted for Jordan and Sharon, the stage was set for a dramatic confrontation. Would Sharon survive her ordeal? Would Nick's determination be enough to save her? And what would happen when all the lies, betrayals, and secrets finally came to light? One thing was certain, the truth was coming, and no one involved would escape unscathed. This version sets up a tense and layered story filled with fractured alliances, rising stakes, and emotional drama. Let me know if you'd like to expand or adjust any part. A family in turmoil, Faith's struggles and Kyle's secret. The once warm and lively atmosphere of Genoa City seemed shrouded in a cloud of despair. Faith, usually a beacon of strength and determination, was crumbling under the weight of her mother Sharon's mysterious disappearance. Her once vibrant spirit had been replaced by a shadow of self-blame and negativity, and it was becoming more apparent to everyone around her. Faith's despair. Tessa and Mariah found Faith sitting on the porch, her knees pulled tightly to her chest. She stared blankly at the horizon, her face pale and drawn. The quiet Faith wasn't one they were accustomed to seeing, and it worried them deeply. "Faith, sweetheart," Mariah said gently as she sat beside her sister. "You've barely spoken a word all day. What's going on?" Faith shrugged, her voice barely above a whisper. I think it's my fault." Tessa frowned, kneeling down in front of Faith. "What are you talking about? Your fault? None of this is your fault." Faith's eyes filled with tears as she finally looked up at her sister. "But it is. Mom wouldn't have been taken if it weren't for all the bad things I've done. Maybe this is my punishment." Mariah's heart broke at Faith's words. Tears welled in her eyes as she pulled Faith into a tight hug. "Don't you ever think that," she said, her voice trembling. "Mom loves you so much, and none of this is because of you. We're going to find her. I promise." Tessa placed a comforting hand on Faith's back. "You're not alone in this, Faith. We're all feeling scared and sad, but blaming yourself won't bring Sharon back. We need to stay strong for her." Lucy and Faith's shared burdens. Faith's struggles didn't go unnoticed by her close friend Lucy. The two had been spending more time together recently, bonding over their shared feelings of helplessness and frustration with the chaos that seemed to plague their families. "I just don't get it," Lucy said one afternoon as the two sat on a bench in the park. "Why do the adults always make things so complicated? Why can't they just stop causing problems?" Faith sighed, her gaze fixed on the ground. "It's like, no matter what we do, we can't fix anything. And now, Mom's gone, and I feel like I'm supposed to do something, but I don't know what." Lucy nodded solemnly. "I feel the same way sometimes. Like we're stuck cleaning up their messes, but we're not strong enough to do it." Their conversation was laced with the kind of cynicism that was unusual for their age, but their experiences had forced them to grow up too quickly. Despite their mutual negativity, their friendship became a safe space where they could express their fears without judgment. Mariah's silent grief. While Mariah remained a pillar of strength for Faith, she couldn't ignore her own grief. Late at night, when the house was quiet, she would retreat to her room and cry for Sharon. The thought of her mother being out there, possibly hurt or worse, was a weight she carried alone. Tessa, ever attuned to Mariah's emotions, tried to comfort her. "You don't have to be strong all the time," she said one evening, wrapping her arms around Mariah. "It's okay to be scared and sad." Mariah nodded, her tears soaking into Tessa's shoulder. I just I feel like I have to hold it together for Faith. She's falling apart, and I can't let her see me like this. You're doing an amazing job, Tessa said softly. But don't forget, you're human too. We'll get through this together. Kyle's guilt. Meanwhile, across town, Kyle Abbott found himself wrestling with his own internal conflict. The memory of his recent kiss with Summer lingered in his mind, an indiscretion he couldn't shake. Every time he looked at Claire, the guilt gnawed at him, threatening to consume him. Kyle sat alone in his office, replaying the moment in his mind. Summer's familiar smile, the way her eyes had lit up when they talked, it had been intoxicating. But it had also been a mistake. Claire didn't deserve this, and neither did Summer. I should tell her, he thought, leaning back in his chair. Claire deserves the truth. But as the thought solidified in his mind, so did his fear of the consequences. Admitting to the kiss could destroy the fragile balance he had worked so hard to maintain. It could hurt Claire deeply and drive a wedge between him and Summer, someone who had been a cornerstone in his life. No, he decided, shaking his head. I'll just put an end to this. No more secrets, no more mistakes. I can fix this without ruining everything. Secrets, grief, and an uncertain future. As tensions simmered in Genoa City, the cracks in relationships and the weight of grief threatened to overwhelm those left in the wake of Sharon's disappearance. Faith's struggle with self-blame, Mariah's quiet anguish, and Kyle's buried guilt were all pieces of a larger puzzle, one filled with secrets, lies, and unresolved emotions. Yet, amidst the pain and uncertainty, there was a glimmer of hope. Nick's relentless search for Sharon continued, and the bonds of love and friendship among those left behind grew stronger with each passing day. But the question lingered, would they find Sharon in time? And would the truth, when it finally came to light, bring them together, or tear them apart? This version captures the emotional struggles of the characters while maintaining suspense and layering their individual arcs. Let me know if you'd like to explore specific threads further.